Hey there, I'm Lee Ullman here with some big news from the National Young Farmers Coalition. We're partnering with Heritage Radio Network on a special season of The Farm Report. It's all about what's happening with the Farm Bill and how it impacts farmers and eaters.
I am growing diversified vegetables on land that's been in our family for 150 years.
And so with the pandemic, gentrification, property values going up, we had to sell the land and we lost it.
Join us as we uncover the untold stories behind this massive piece of legislation that shapes how we grow our food, what we eat, and so much more.
The problems we have had, those are things that come from earlier Farm Bill and USDA policy, right? Like Earl Butz, get big or get out.
You know, it's my responsibility to know not only what I'm eating, but then like how that all came to be. And realize like, wow, like this piece of legislation, all this money, like it's technically something that I support as a taxpayer.
While Congress debates the next Farm Bill, this is not just an invitation to listen. It's a call to action. Be part of the conversation. Subscribe to the Farm Report on Heritage Radio Network, wherever you listen to podcasts.
My name is Sarah Kim, and I'm from Austin, Texas. I'm a Cheeselandian because while life is great, cheese makes it better. Go to cheeselandia.com to learn more, and if it's for you, sign up.
Hello, welcome to Snacky Tunes. I'm one of your hosts, Darren Bresnitz. Happy New Year. One hell of a week. We hope that everyone is staying safe, physically, mentally, taking a little bit of a break from doom scrolling, check in with a loved one, check in with yourself, check in with a family member. It's going to be a long winter. There's going to be a lot of heartbreak, both with people who are getting sick from corona, people who are going through tough financial times, restaurants that are closing, and just the overall, political theater that we're going through right now. So pace yourself, be good to each other, have a little bit of extra empathy when you can. We have a really great and inspiring tale today. Keith Corbin, shout out, chef, co-owner, Alta Adams in West Adams. Really incredible tale. Talks about the restaurant, his journey to being a professional chef, how he lifts up his community. And if you haven't been to the restaurant, what an absolute delicious treat. And then we dig into the archives. We're heading back to Danger Bird Records studio in Silver Lake, where we hang out with Brazilian singer-songwriter Samira Winter, a.k.a. Winter, talking about college days in Boston, which I know something about, Go Terriers. And we listen to some dreamy songs that we think are really nice for a cold winter day. So please sit back and enjoy Snacky Tunes here on HRN.
We talk about food, we talk about music, with musical dudes, finger on the pulse, Snacky Tunes.
You happy. He wants to be the number one in his school.
Welcome to Snacky Tunes. Thank you so much for sitting down with us. Let me just ask off the bat, how you doing today?
Man, I'm awesome. Just feeling good, excited. Well, I have a lot of feelings at the same time too, the industry, but we'll get into that. But at the moment I'm feeling great.
Yeah, I mean, we're definitely going to get into the roller coaster that is known as the pandemic, especially when it gets into restaurants. But,
Yeah.
I wanted to go back to really the early days of your cooking because you grew up in Watts. So, California, born and
Yeah.
bred. And your grandmother was, I would say, your culinary beacon. And she mixed a lot of Southern food, but also with LA culture. What did you learn from her? What did you take from her? How did she inspire you?
I mean, I really wouldn't say too much of LA culture. My grandmother was like, her mother came over during the Great Migration, so she was like first generation coming over. So she still had a lot of that Southern tradition and training, just like the rest of the community. During the migration, they brought a lot of that Southern tradition here to LA and Watson, Compton, and areas alike. And so it was like an extension of the South. So growing up with my granny, she cooked the big meals. She cooked to feed the community. Everybody hanging around, eating. It's the same way you see in the South. Like everything is like big meals, feed a lot of people type portions. I watched her in the kitchen. It isn't too much that I got cooking lessons from her, but I grew up with my mother in the streets, my dad not around, so my granny kind of raised me and my siblings. And with everything else that was going on out in the world, I kind of found peace being under my granny, and she spent most of her time in the kitchen. So that's why I spent time with her in the kitchen, watching her clean collard greens, clean chitlins, making stocks, gravies, frying chicken. You know what I mean? Asking for food while she's making it. And some things she let me taste, and some things she'll tell me I gotta wait for everybody else to eat, like the fried chicken. And then I find myself, like many other people, walking past while her back is to the stove and grabbing a piece of chicken and hurrying out the door.
Oh, yeah.
And thinking I got away with it. But then when it come time to plate the food, I'm one chicken short than everybody else, and I'm wondering why. And it's like, I know the answer, she know the answer, I took So it was like having those fun moments with my granny in the kitchen. The idea of like a chef being aware of everything that's going on in the kitchen. My granny was that. She had eyes in the back of her head. She knew everything that was going on in the kitchen. She knew what was in her kitchen.
Saying that the kitchen is a safe space to find some guidance and some calming has got to be such a great thing to latch on to early on. Because sometimes if you're not running a kitchen, you peek your head in and it feels like chaos. But if you're sitting at the center, it really is, you're controlling the whole situation. Is that something that drove you into cooking, or something that you gravitated to later in life, that control and that calming center, being in the middle of all the action?
The kitchen for me was a way of feeding my siblings. It wasn't about like an idea of a profession or any of that. Like my granny cooked dinners, but for the most part during the day, you had to pretty much fend. She raised her kids. She was much older. She made sure we had dinner. But during the day, you got to pull out them leftovers in the fridge, or you have to, get creative with what was in the house throughout the day. She wasn't going back and forth in the kitchen making breakfast, lunch, and dinner. That just wasn't happening. Or she'd be in the kitchen all day preparing for a big dinner. So, like, just going in the kitchen and playing around at an early age with flavors and like things like that and pairings. I learned early on how to be creative. I always have this saying, if the kitchen is not stripped bare, if you give me 3 ingredients, I can make it palatable. It may not be the best, but you can eat it without throwing it up. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I've learned early on how to turn these dials, where everything is just not 50%, 50%. It's like you have to find those balance of notes to where it's palatable to me. And I learned early on with that, just fending for myself. You know what I mean? And feeding my brothers and sisters, and just not having the money and resources, but having to take what was actually in the house and find a way to make it work throughout the day. So yeah.
Finding that love of cooking and feeding people early on, usually, especially people who come on this show, does lead to some sort of life in the restaurant business or industry and things like that. When did you start thinking about cooking as a profession, and not just cooking, but getting into the upper echelons of fine dining?
I mean, if you want me to be frank and honest, I started thinking about cooking as a profession when I was 13, when I was actually cooking in the streets.
Mm. What were you cooking?
I was on the scientifical side.
Got it. I hear you.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So and that leads to something. So everybody knows that I grew up in the projects, grew up in the streets, was part of the street culture, ventured in cooking drugs, and went to prison. And I found myself coming home from prison, and was like, in my mind, it's like, in order to survive and get my life together, I have to stay away from the kitchen, because I spent many years in the kitchen doing negative cooking. You know what I mean? So I gotta stay away from the kitchen. That's like, I gotta find something else, not knowing that the kitchen ultimately is what was going to save my life.
Wow.
Yeah. When Daniel and Roy got together, that's why I'm thankful for Copenhagen and them meeting and deciding to open this restaurant called Local and Watts. When they met, they came and provided an opportunity in our community. And at the time, I had just lost my job at the oil refinery. I had my first job ever. What I consider local, my first job, because I only had the oil refinery for a moment, just momentarily. But I was let go. So I worked so hard and got a promotion to general foreman. So they had to run a background check for me to drive company equipment. That background check revealed that I had been to prison. They let me go. So my hard work and promotion actually got me terminated.
That's awful.
Yeah, so for just like a couple of weeks, I was just in this whirlwind of going back and forth of like, just saying, fuck this legal beagle life. Like, it's like, there's nothing for me, And my mother happened to call me and tell me that they just opened a restaurant in Watts, and they was hiring. And when I pulled up, it was funny because it was the exact same building that I once had prior to me going to prison. I used to have a clothing store. I went to prison and lost the property. And now this restaurant, this building has been transformed into this restaurant that now I'm applying for a job for, and I ultimately got hired.
Now, there's an amazing part of the story where you started working as part of the construction crew, but then you wound up working in the kitchen.
So what happened was,
how did that jump happen? Because that, to me, is one of those moments where you're like, oh yeah, okay, that's part of the story, but that is a good learning moment for people. Like, how do I get from the outside of the kitchen to on the inside?
But actually what happened was, I got hired for the kitchen. I got hired actually for the kitchen, and the restaurant was still in development. So I talked to Profit, which was the foreman or the contractor, to allow me to work on the restaurant prior to its opening. I was already hired for the restaurant. I just actually worked on the construction side before we opened.
Got it.
Yeah.
Got it. And so then once the kitchen started going, you showed those guys that you could cook.
Well, so when the restaurant opened, Daniel came in, and I was fortunate to work alongside with him because I was the kitchen manager. So he passed down his information to me in order for me to distribute it, disperse it through the team. So he took notice that I had some basic skills and a palette that can be developed. And he took interest into me, and I found myself working alongside him more often, like more than maybe he would have done with anyone else. Like he literally took to working with me, brought me up to the executive team, put me in with Andrew Miller on the research and development side with them too. So I began to learn a lot of, I don't want to just say like a lot of techniques, but putting names to things that came to me naturally.
Mm.
You know what I mean?
Yeah. So
Like,
refining that raw talent that
yeah,
you got from your grandmother and that you could do for your brothers and sisters, and someone just saying like, "Oh yeah, you figured this out on your own, but here's how it's actually what it's called."
and this is what it's called. You know what I mean?
Yeah, yeah.
This is what you're actually doing, and how you're doing it. If you do it this way, you see you get a better product.
You know, it's interesting because so much of this industry is still mentor-mentee
Yeah.
and those relationships. And you have been very vocal about paying it forward to people who may have been overlooked in the past. And I think what's happened especially in this last year, you know, at least since March and even before that, is that people are re-examining the restaurant culture and who gets to have a restaurant, who gets to have a business. And I think local was one of those first places that's saying, you know, this doesn't have to be this very elite class of people who own these types of restaurants. It really should be more democratic, and you'll get a better community and better food out of it. So what was it like to be at the center and continue to be at the center of, you know, the larger restaurant corporation that you're with Daniel, and giving people who have maybe not seen those opportunities a chance to be in the kitchen?
I think for me, and many people that come up in our community, all we pray for is opportunity. And given opportunity, we always want to give back. You know, it's like pulling each other up.
Yeah.
But a lot of times it's just a dream. You know what I mean? It's always if I could, if I could, I would, or you know what I mean. So when Daniel and Roy actually came to the community, first off, the way they came in was so respectable and just different. Like they allowed themselves to be accepted into the community by first reaching out to the community and having like a forum with community leaders and explaining the vision and idea behind Loco, you know, and allowed us to take them by the hand and guide them into our community. It wasn't just about coming in and giving us something they thought we needed. You know, this was something that was being worked out for almost 2 years before construction started
Yeah.
that people don't know about. Like, so they changed the game on how to enter a community. You know, when you claiming you're doing something or building something for the community. Like, you know what I mean? They let the community be a part of the idea. And then the idea of, you know, turning a business over to be ran and operated by the community members was just something unheard of. You know, like Loco most definitely was ahead of his time in the idea of, you know, giving back and reaching back to underserved communities and entering these food deserts. Like it was crazy.
Yeah. I always, you know, sitting on the outside and knowing that restaurants close for various reasons, but I thought the extra heaped on criticism for what Local was trying to do from outsiders was unfounded, and I think came from a real misguided spot. You know, I thought what they were trying to do and what you guys were doing at Local was so different and was so ahead of a time that the people who rallied against it just didn't understand, just didn't really quite get what it was trying to do, or maybe didn't see it as something genuine, and so they came out against it. So I thought,
or maybe they're just scared of giving other communities or other culture or giving other culture opportunity. I mean, let's
Yeah.
think about it. If we're gonna be frank and honest, this
let's do it.
industry is like dominated by 98% Caucasian, like French, like you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, and they control the game. So that's one thing I respect about Daniel. We did an event in the wine country. I forgot where it was at. It was a private event, and he took me. I was the only black person. I was the only person of color. You know what I mean? And
Yeah.
if only we can allow other people to enter into this realm, this culinary realm, then we can create and bring new dishes, like something new. Because according to a lot of people, the food had became so familiar. Everybody was doing the same shit, copying each other.
Yeah.
But they wasn't bringing any new influences in. And
Well, yeah.
then the opportunity happened with me and Daniel, but that's what Loco was able to do. It was able to open the door for new influences to come in. Like, hadn't it been for Loco, Daniel and I wouldn't have met, and
Right.
then we wouldn't have been able to put our minds together to bring what he have and what I have and create this California cuisine that everybody seems to enjoy.
Yeah. Well, I think they more than enjoy it. I think they love it. And we're going to take a quick break because we're going to get back and talk about the California soul food you two have been making, Alta Adams, and about the current state of the restaurant industry. We have a song from the archives here on Snacky Tunes on HRN.
California, California. Thank you for your cloying aromas, your beautiful views, arroyos and lomas. Who wants to wake up from so lovely a coma? After the gold rush, after the gold rush, I know a man who walks in my neighborhood. He made beautiful songs, but he never sold much, so much. Came too long after the gold rush. Then he fell in with people you don't trust. Now he can't pay for his own lunch, but I don't judge, don't judge. At the cafe where I practice my Spanish, she asked me if I had an act they can manage. My mom's name is Janice. She's not why I'm manic. I'm good with a secret. I'm not naming names, but give me 10 minutes and things may have changed. California, California. Thank you for your cloying aromas, your beautiful views, arroyos and lomas. Who wants to wake up from so lovely a coma? After the gold rush, after the gold rush, hand gripping the wheel on the freeway, young enough to sell, old enough to repay. Last minute flight was a couple hundred each way. I got a memory that's starring you, I need to replay. I heard you got a new main thing. I heard he shuffles, but he can't swing. The kind of guy to wear shorts to a funeral. But I'ma stay composed like a movie cue. Under the surface, I'm batshit bananas. All last minute chances and flashes of panic. Don't judge, don't judge. Not too often I say what I really want much. But California, California, thank you for your cloying aromas, your beautiful views, arroyos and lomas. Who wants to wake up from so lovely a coma? After the gold rush, after the gold rush.
Hello and welcome back to Snacky Tunes. We are with Chef Keith Corbin, and where we are in your timeline is that locals closed. You are working with Daniel Patterson, opening up restaurants in the Bay Area, sort of navigating this new cuisine that obviously everyone is paying attention to from San Francisco, but it's also having a national ripple effect as well. When did you start thinking about coming back to your hometown of LA and opening a place? And what made you want to open up in West Adams?
So, again, like it was never no forward thinking about this. It was never like no idea for years or anything like that. Like I had just came home from prison in 2014. Loco opened in 2016, 15, 16, and then out to 2018. So this is happening really fast. There's no time to think it through. I'm just learning and coming up with create ideas as we go along. So in Loco, prior to Loco closing, I was brought onto the executive body side and was moved up north to help open Loco in the Bay Area, downtown Oakland and West Oakland, and San Jose, and even was working on a deal with Nipsey Hussle to open one on Crenshaw. So it was supposed to be the second one in LA was going to be on Crenshaw. But being up there, Daniel had a restaurant empire.
Yeah.
And I stodged during my free time away from Loco and all these various restaurants. You know, it was exciting to me. It was new.
Yeah.
Things were going on. So you had Alfred Steakhouse. I was able to go in there and learn the grill and learn temperatures and learn this and actually work with meat. Then Qua and that level of cooking and cuisine and control. You had the original Alta CA. You had various restaurants. So as I was venturing through the various restaurants that Daniel had, I started to really see these techniques and these ideas that was going on with food. And it was just like, damn, I wonder if I can apply this to the food that I enjoy. You know what I mean? Daniel, like I said, Daniel and I did an event in this wine country where we took the idea from Loco, which was the foldy.
Yeah.
And so
legendary.
We created a dish there using griddled kale and some other stuff that we stuffed it with. So when I'm thinking of this idea about the California soul food, I'm like, what if we take, because I don't want to just do collard greens in a bowl. So I'm like, what if we take the collard greens and stuff them in the way that we used the kale when we did that $700 a plate dish dinner? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And then it's like the candy yams. Like, I don't want to just do a bowl or mushy candy yams. Like, what if we do a gratin or pave? You know what I mean? Because now I'm seeing these different techniques, and it's like, I see the correlation with them. Like the croutons and the pave, they're using potatoes, and like, well, yam is a potato. And it's like, what if I just do it this way? And we just talked it over. We used to drive. I used to fantasize about these ideas. And, you know, I told Daniel, I said, I want to open my own restaurant by the time I'm 40 and have my own black tie event in my own restaurant. And at the time I was 37. And he said, put a 3-year business plan together. I'm like, will you partner with me? He said, put a 3-year business plan together. In the meantime, there's other work to be done, right?
Yeah.
So, you know, because we're dreaming.
You're right.
And unknown to me that Daniel was working on a deal in LA. So my dream was always to come back home. Like I never just wanted to live in the Bay Area. But for me, it was a good place to get away because it was separated from the street life that I had down in LA. So things I was able to do in the Bay Area that I could never do here. Like simply go to the fucking store without constantly looking over my shoulder. You know what I mean? Taking walks. Like it was a place where I can decompress.
Yeah.
I enjoyed being in the Bay Area, but I always needed to come back home. So one day, I was working at Dialpha, and Daniel walked into the restaurant in the kitchen and called me outside, and we was talking. He was like, remember that idea you had about the soul food? I'm like, yeah. And he was like, well, you think you're ready now? No, but literally, this is...
I mean, that's so good. That's so good.
This is 6 months after I told him, and he told me to come up with a 3-year business plan. This is 6 months later. Now, what happened was he had another chef that was going to run this place, and I was going to be the sous chef. But the cuisine or the menu that he kept trying to come up with just didn't make sense. So it didn't work out. But I didn't know that Daniel had got rid of him. So then he came to me and said, "You ready to try your idea? The time is now. The slot is open. The position is available. Like the idea, you have it. You think you're ready?" And I'm shaking my head no and saying yeah at the same time. Or I'm shaking my head yeah and thinking no at the same time. Whatever it is, it was like a mix of emotions. You know what I mean? And
but that's a beautiful thing, and all the experience, from what you learned from your grandmother, and then local, and then all these refined techniques that you could then reinterpret, because that's the great thing about cooking, right? And that's a great thing about having your own spot, is that you get to pick and choose what works best.
Yeah.
And some of those classic techniques, some of those really fancy behind the scenes that the diner may not even notice, when you apply that to something like a soul food, right? Or something that is seen as a more approachable style of cooking and eating, you start sneaking in those high-end techniques, and it takes it to a whole other level.
A whole nother level. You know what I mean? It just does wonders for how the food comes out.
Yeah. And now, Alta Adams has been on the top of a lot of lists, and been really big for the community. And obviously, this year, community, both in restaurants, those who work there, those who eat there, have been devastated by COVID, And in addition to COVID, there's also the social revolution that we're living through right now. How has the restaurant responded to, the changings and the re-examinations of, relationships in 2020, both with the restaurant industry, social relations, race relations, things like that? Because the great thing about your restaurant is that, it's sort of, you can't put it in a box, right? Like, it's diverse. It's open to different ideas. You can do, like you said, your black tie upscale dinners. You can also go in for a down-home soul food meal. How have you redefined what it means to be your place?
But that's California, right?
Yeah.
Like California has like various levels of people and culture. You know what I mean? And like that's what we wanted to capture at Alpha, just be inclusive of everyone. Like anybody can come there and feel like they're a part of it, whether you high end or you're just wherever you at, you can find the energy there for you. You know what I'm saying? Right. And that's what we wanted to capture, and that was the whole idea. And also separating like California soul food. I didn't want to just replicate Southern soul food, but I also didn't want to, abandon my heritage. That's what I inherited. That's what I knew. My grandmother didn't leave recipes behind, which was a great thing. So I was able to trailblaze a new path to a familiar dish. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I was able to deframe and reframe and make something old new again. And being able to take what's around me. You know what I mean? And I just always think about like the creators of this cuisine, and following the diasporas from West Africa to the South to California. And it's like everywhere they stopped, the dishes are different. Like the oxtails in the South is different from the oxtails in Jamaica and the Caribbean. And that's because they were creating dishes. They were making things that was familiar to them, but what they had around them. So it's like, why am I in California and want to look for all the ingredients that they using in the South to create these dishes? No, we inherit creativity, the ability to create. That's what my ancestors gave me, the ability to be creative. So I took what's around me and created something and used techniques and created from these ideas that was familiar. Let's just take gumbo, for instance. Gumbo in the South is Gumbo, but its proper translation is okra, Gombo.
Mm.
So in West Africa, you have this idea of gumbo, which starts from an okra stew
Mm.
that they use red palm oil instead of olive oil. They use palm oil. They saute the vegetables in and put the prawns in there and use fish stock and build it up. They get over to the South. They have this familiar idea. They just recreated with other things that they had available. That we have gumbo now. So then when I get here, I just recreated it for how we eat in California. And it's a vegan gumbo. The base of it is a vegan gumbo in which you can add prawns, chicken, and sausage.
Mm.
But it's more tailored to the original gumbo, Gombo, which is an okra stew. So
I
it's
love
based
that.
in okra. It's no rule, no butter, flour. You know what I mean? So, and that's just what I wanted to do to the cuisine. I wanted to go back from the beginning and see how these dishes translated over time. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And that just gave me the okay, because you play with some of these dishes and you can really get in trouble with people.
Yeah. Yeah. No, it's interesting in being able to just redefine and make it your own.
Yeah.
Now, you talked a little bit earlier about Daniel and Roy coming to the community and supporting in Watts and using the restaurant as a way to give people opportunity. And obviously, right now, there are people who are struggling with restaurants opening and closing, and you as a restaurant owner are responsible in some ways for the people that work for you. You take that responsibility on as the leader. How are you dealing with these changes? And again, recording in December of 2020, and when this airs, probably in 2021, it might be different. But how are you helping? How are you supporting? What are you able to do? I know you did a couple of specialty dinners with some collaborations when we reopened, but how have you adjusted the business and working with the people who work for you?
So, for one, a lot of our focus has been feeding frontline workers and dealing with things in that way and helping in that way. We also have been constantly changing our business model to kind of see what it's like throwing spaghetti at the wall to
Yeah.
see what works in order for us to keep our employees employed. With this situation right now, one idea that I have and that I've talked over with Daniel and the team is that I have Luella, Cali Soul in Culver City.
Yeah.
And the idea that I was thinking is because that's takeaway. And I wasn't going to open until after the COVID situation because I
Right.
don't have to hire and let go. But I just had to furlough my staff from Alta. So what I'm thinking about is hiring them at Luella's and opening and then prepare the food at Alta and purchase it. And that way one hand washes the other and give jobs back. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
There will be no labor here, and Alta's getting paid at a percentage where they're making money for producing the food for Luella's, which will be sold by the employees, and now they can get a paycheck. Haven't worked it all out yet, but just constantly thinking and like using what we have available to try to keep people employed. So yeah, some people have more to work with, some people have less to work with. But for us, it's like taking what we have and figuring out how we can keep our people employed. We turned the coffee shop into the wine shop. The wine
Yeah.
shop is selling much better. So we're able to keep people employed in there.
People need wine during this time. It's more than ever, maybe.
But when we get these big relief contracts,
Yeah.
or like right now we was doing one. We're feeding the music industry. When we get contracts like that, then we're able to bring the employees in
Yeah.
to prepare these 1,200 meals and 400 meals. You know, when we had contracts with feeding the frontline workers in the hospital, like we were able to bring in the help, you know, but just on a day-to-day basis, like it's just hard.
Yeah, it's hard. And, you know, with everything stalled in Congress, and again, maybe that changes when this airs, but it's just tough. And you're putting a lot on the backs of an industry that already takes a lot on. And I think with Instagram and maybe social media and things like that, maybe before this, people didn't really realize how much work goes into running a restaurant. Maybe they just saw the events and the pretty food and the news clippings. And I think if you don't understand what it takes to run a restaurant now, that's on you for not digging in to understand that it is a small business as much as it is a scene or anything else.
Man, for us that's running a restaurant, we're we're learning what it really takes to run.
Yeah.
It's been an education for some of us as well.
Sure.
Because you know, a lot of times you open and it takes off, and that wave actually carries itself, you know. But for those that have actually been running a restaurant and like trying to get theirs off the ground or get to the point that some of us was able to start off at, we're now learning like, damn, you know, like it's not as easy for everybody. Like Alpha came out the gate running, you know, but now we're grinding.
Yeah, that grind.
And that grind is like it's a leveler. It makes you really appreciate, you know.
Yeah,
like it's hard. It's hard work.
Well, from the people who eat your food and someone who is looking forward to restaurants reopening, I appreciate that grind and the grind of the industry. For those, and I hate to say it, who are lucky enough to still be able to hang on and have the opportunity to grind, because there's maybe 100,000 restaurants now that are just never going to grind again.
Yeah, and not to cut you off, but like that is the heartbreaking part, is that even coming out of this, our industry will never be the same.
But, you know, to go back, and we'll probably end here, but what I have seen, and while this is a devastating time, is that maybe there is part of the old restaurant scene that grinds away and gives opportunity. And I've seen it, places like Bridgetown Roadie and other places with chefs who were part of a restaurant and have now left that and are doing stuff. You see it in San Gabriel Valley. You see it in downtown LA. You know, you see it in like the, the taco pop-ups, the street food, or people who are popping out of commissaries are saying, I'm cooking my own food with my own story. And people are responding to that. So maybe there is a silver lining. It's tough to see a silver lining right now, and I know how that sounds, but maybe it's a new dawn. You know, maybe it's a new industry on the other side.
It goes back to that conversation I said I had with Daniel about, damn, if only it was some new people coming into the culinary world, right?
Yep.
It's like when you have a fire, or when after fall and winter, now we'll see what our spring look like.
Yeah, and look, I mean, we'll full circle it even. 2008, 2009, the world collapses financially, and who emerges from that but a Mr. Roy Choi with a Kogi truck that changed the way that we saw the way that people could eat out, could have a business, and level the playing field where you didn't need to have a ton of capital or buy into the hierarchy. You could just say, I'm going to do my own thing, and I think we'll see that again.
You're right.
Chef, I can't thank you enough for taking time to chat with us. If people want to check out the restaurant or follow along with you, where can they go? How do they get to know what you're up to?
Well, they can always follow us at Alta Adams Restaurant on Instagram, or follow me at Chef Keith Corbin on Instagram, or our restaurant, Alta Adams.
Awesome. Well, listen, thank you so much, Chef. Appreciate you making the time. We have another song from the archives and then a live performance here on Snacky Tunes on HRN.
1, 2, 1, 2, 3, 4.
My name is Sarah Kim, and I'm from Austin, Texas. I'm a Cheeselandian because while life is great, cheese makes it better. Wisconsin cheese has proven time and time again to be a delicious expression of craft, hard work, and tradition. As a Cheeselandian, I am able to share a Gouda experience with fellow cheese and food lovers nationwide, as well as connect with cheese producers and cheesemongers, taking my love of cheese to another level. I invite you to join Cheeselandia because during these difficult times, it has been even more important to take it easy and get cheesy. The Cheeselandia community and events have been the glue helping to keep us together and connected, and I would love it if you would join me. And let's face it, if you hear the word cheese and get a little hungry, then you've found a place you can call home. To find out more about Cheeselandia, go to cheeselandia.com.
Hello and welcome to Snacky Tunes. I am one half your host, Darren Bresnitz. We are at the legendary Dangerbird Record Studios in Silver Lake. It's a gorgeous day towards the end of summer, and we have Winter in the house. Welcome to Snacky Tunes, Winter.
Thanks. We're happy to be here.
Samira, you grew up in Brazil?
Yeah, I grew up in Brazil, in Curitiba, in the south of Brazil.
Nice. What were your earliest memories of food and music from growing up in Brazil?
So for music, my dad's American, and he listened to a lot of like punk rock. So people like Dead Kennedys, like the Cramps. But then my mom listened to a lot of Brazilian popular music, which is like Djavan, Caetano Veloso, Gal Costa, Milton Nascimento. And so I grew up with both of those. And then food-wise, at the time, I wasn't vegetarian because now I am vegetarian, but I grew up with a lot of the typical foods, feijoada, rice, beans, plantains. And then in the south of Brazil, where I'm from, there's a lot of European influence. So there's a lot of afternoon coffee and tea pastries, German things. So kind of a mix.
A real mix. Brazil's a little bit more of a melting pot than people would think.
Uh-huh.
How did that affect what you loved about your own personal journey of music and getting into different cultures as you grew up?
I think it really kept me open-minded because there was such a mix of people being into European things, people being into American things, people being into Brazilian things, people being into African influenced things. So I think I just kind of always had an open mind, musically, food-wise. Just kind of the way I walk about this earth is pretty open-minded. Yeah, I think it was a really good experience.
What took you away from home? What pulled you to the States?
So it was kind of a plan of my dad's, who he's American, to have me go to school in the U.S. Even though at the time in high school I was kind of like, oh, maybe I should stay here because I really loved living in Brazil. It was a plan to go to college in Boston.
Shout out. That's where I went to school.
Oh, cool. Where did you go?
I went to BU.
Nice. I went to Emerson.
Ooh, down the street.
Yeah.
Did you ever eat at Anna's Taqueria?
Uh-huh. The best.
The best.
Love it so much.
I dream of it.
So much. You know where I dream of too? A couple places. Did you ever go to Finale, that dessert place?
No, I'm not a big dessert guy.
It's so good.
Did you ever go to El Pelon? It was another Mexican place. It was near Fenway.
No.
There was this really cool old thrift store. I still remember I got these old Pixies 12 inches there.
Uh-huh.
But yeah, it was like record shopping and tacos and burritos.
So good.
Yeah. A little bit of a cultural difference between Brazil and Boston.
It was the biggest shock ever.
At least you got there in the fall. At least you weren't thrown right into winter.
I know. It was the biggest shock, though.
I mean, what is that like growing up in Brazil and then going to... Boston's very specific. For anyone who hasn't spent time in Boston, it's a very, very specific city. Much more so than in New York or Los Angeles.
It definitely made me grow up. Really way more serious of a place, very academic. Even just dressing wise, like people's style is it's more conservative. It's all navy, black, stripes. That's it, you know?
They don't let you into Boston without a pair of black pants.
Yeah, you need.
You need a good pair of black pants.
Oh my gosh, yes. Yeah, it was a shock, definitely.
And a good punk scene.
Yeah.
in Boston, or in some like post-hardcore type of bands?
I mean, the thing about Boston is I think it fluctuates a lot, but for me it was really important because that's where I really discovered like shoegaze and dream pop and kind of like a East Coast indie rock, and a lot of noise and ambient music too, which I think if I would have gone to school anywhere else, I probably would have been influenced in a different way. So it was really crucial for that, and I'll always be so thankful for that experience.
And they have a strong DIY scene, a lot of house shows, a lot of things like that. Did you get in the mix with those?
Yeah, because I was studying journalism, so for my last year, I was doing a documentary on the noise scene in Boston. So I was just going to basement shows, interviewing people. I was just super into that.
Awesome. Let's hear a song. First one's in Portuguese, right?
Yeah.
What is it?
It's called Memória Colorida, which means colorful memory.
Love it. Okay, here we go. We got Winter at Dangerbird Record Studios on Snacky Tunes on heritageradionetwork.org. Oh man, that took me back to Boston dorm days, 2003. Isn't a good thing? It's a good thing.
That's where it all starts.
Doesn't it?
Boston dorm rooms. Like, literally, that's how everything started.
I mean, I think I'm a little bit older, but definitely tail end of Napster days for me. And God, I can't remember. There was a website that used to put up all like full live indie rock concerts. I listened to like Ida and the Makeup, and just like sit in my room and be like, no one gets me.
I loved it because I would get so moody. Like, I would be like in the cold, in the rain, listening to super like, depressing music. Like, and I would just be like, yeah, I'm so moody. And I couldn't go out because it was so much snow. Like,
I know.
You couldn't do anything.
I think my darkest days were Boston winters.
Dude, and I gained so much weight too. I was eating a bagel like every day.
Oh yeah.
And pizza. It was so good though. It was so good.
Yeah, for people who don't know, Boston has its own specific type of pizza. Which is very regional, very specific. When did you start getting into making your own music? Was it before you went to college? Was it your dad's musical influence, your mom's musical influence, or was it those moody, dark days of Boston?
Well, winter definitely started in the moody, dark days of Boston.
So aptly named band.
In the winter, yeah. Definitely. Because I couldn't do anything else except just play music. But I started writing like when I was like 12 or so, but I never really like showed it to people. I always talked about music as a hobby. I'd be like, oh no, like not really that serious about it. And then, yeah, I think it was in college really that I played in a band with some friends in a dorm room and all of that, and it was so fun. And so I was like, oh man, maybe I should try to like record some songs that I have. And yeah, that's how it started in college mainly.
And when did it start creeping in as something that you were doing as less as a distraction from the cold as something more full-time, more serious?
Well, it's funny because I had a boyfriend at the time that was like, he kind of had like an intervention with me. He was like, Samira, you need to like start taking yourself more seriously because it's clear that you love music. Like, you just need to give it a try. And so after that, I kind of like woke up and I was like, okay, I need to like actually try to do it and try to have a band and all of that. But I think when I moved to LA, I think the vibe here in LA, everyone is such a hard worker, but in like this very relaxed way, which is sort of the way I work, is like I'm always really working, but it's like a different way of working than in the East Coast where everyone's so stressed out.
Oh, yeah.
Here, everyone's working super hard, but everyone's making it look easy.
Yeah, it's, I don't know. I wrestle with this too because I see people, and because I spent so much time in New York, of just people who would just sit at their desks and be so stressed, but not do the work. And I go, you're stressed because you're bullshitting for 4 hours. Just fucking do your work and go home. And here it's more like do your work and then go hang outside.
Yeah.
And go hit nature.
Yeah.
Did you drive across country?
I flew, but I did a trip that was like my first California trip, which was just like a West Coast trip with my sister when I moved here. But yeah, I mean, I think I honestly wouldn't be where I am right now if it weren't for my bandmates.
Oh, yeah.
And like be able to sound good and take it seriously because like I think it's so you can't really do it by yourself. And so just having people that are available to tour, people that are supporting you who want to make the song sound good, I think that's what really takes it to the next level.
Yeah. How did you meet the three other people standing in this room?
So I met each person separate, like in different ways. I met Justine because I played a show with her old band, Summer Twins.
Oh, that's a good band name. Wait, so was it Winter and Summer Twins on the same
we
bill?
played a lot of shows together, and it was amazing because everyone would just be like, "Oh my God, winter, summer."
I mean, I know you're mocking those people, but
No, it's cool.
did you make T-shirts?
Yeah.
Yeah, we
Of
have
that
Winter
tour?
and Summer Twins t-shirts.
Yeah, we did
Ooh.
actually make did a collab t-shirt.
If you have size for a
We
37-year-old
probably do
dad
have
large.
We do. We actually
We couldn't
do.
really get rid of them.
Yeah.
All right.
This bright color.
Oh, you're
They're
speaking my language.
They
I'll
were
take
cool.
I'll take one off your hands.
I'm gonna bring you one.
Okay. What about guitar and drums? How'd you guys meet?
So Anders I met through Justine.
No, we met briefly like several years before that.
Across the street, Silver Lake Lounge.
Silver Lake Lounge.
Oh,
Yep.
legendary dive bar.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I just remember what he was wearing.
What was
'Cause
it
he
wearing?
wears the coolest clothes. He was
That's
wearing
how
like a
I met
fur
him too.
coat.
It's like his outfit, just like you
Stands
have to
out.
say something because he dresses so cool.
Intentional.
Mm-hmm.
Nice.
Yeah. It's the outfits speak more than I ever possibly could.
Hey man, fashion's a beautiful thing.
Fashion is life.
Yeah.
And then I met Ian because we played a show with Final Williams, the band he used to play in like a couple years ago.
So this is always interesting to me because you have two people who were in bands before they joined this one. How does that conversation go?
No, but
Were
the
you in
thing
Honors?
is,
Were you in a band too?
Yeah.
they're all still in other bands.
Oh yeah, it's that vibe.
They're all still in other bands, yeah.
I mean, we'll do off the record of what your favorite band to play in, but we'll say Winter. We'll say Winter on the record. I mean, I found out a lot about the LA scene that there is a lot of overlap and a lot of people playing in different projects and collaborating and things like that.
I think it works because I think there's different cycles of like creativity and touring, and I think there's cycles of being super busy and then cycles of being at home. And so like being at home, it's like you can play in other projects and have time for all of that.
Awesome. Well, let's hear another song. This next one's about your cat, right?
Yeah.
What's it called?
It's called Zoe.
I assume that's the cat's name.
It is.
Okay. That'd be really funny if it was not her name. Here we go. Winter on Snacky Tunes at Dangerbird Record Studios on heritageradionetwork.org.
Get it right.
Amazing.
Thanks.
Does your cat know that song's about her?
I think she knows.
You're like, Zoe, I have something special for you. It's an audio treat. So you have a few albums out, and you just put out your latest EP. When do you decide it's time to put out new music? And can you talk to me a little bit about what was the inspiration? I mean, it feels like dreamy West Coast days in this last EP.
Definitely.
Definitely not that Boston Dark Days.
Definitely not. That EP was kind of like this like summer, really, that I wrote a lot of those songs, except Always Teenager, which was probably like it was just like a really sad moment. But other than that, all those songs were very happy moments inspired by the summer and, living here and having really good memories.
What do you like more, or I guess it's different, about writing happy California, summery music versus those dark Boston tracks?
It's weird because it's like sometimes I want to be writing a certain thing, but I think it really has to do where you're at, like personally. Like I feel like I'm always going through something different and kind of at a different place internally. And so it ends up just reflecting that. Like sometimes I'm like, oh man, I really want to make like this kind of like vibe. But if I'm not experiencing that, then it's hard for me to really feel it, and really make that.
I get that. True songwriting.
Yeah, it's pretty personal. And then sometimes it's just sort of like, I feel like I'm very inspired by music, so it's like the music that I'm into inspires what I write to.
Do you ever pull from those old punk bands from your dad or any of the more classical Brazilian stuff from your mom?
So I haven't really done any of the punk stuff, but for my mom I did a record with my friend all on like cassette tape, and it's pretty much, I don't know if I'll ever do a record like that again, but it's all like very Brazilian and like still pretty dreamy, but kind of more like late 60s kind of inspired music. Yeah, so I did that. It's like Winter and Triptides, and the album is called Estrela Mágica.
Oh, nice.
Yeah.
So all you need is a cassette player, right?
Yeah.
Okay. I think I still got one. And you have some live shows coming up, right? You're hitting the road September, later this month?
We're playing at the Bootleg, I believe, on the 21st.
Everyone looks around.
I'm like looking around.
Andy usually knows these things. Is there a nod from Andy in there? No? Maybe?
I think it's either the 20th or the 21st.
All right, we'll check the tapes.
And it's with a band from Brazil.
Oh, nice.
Called Bugarins.
Do you make that? I mean, you toured down there, didn't you?
I have.
What's the difference in playing shows in Brazil versus playing in the States?
Oh my God, it's so different. Justine can elaborate.
You will probably get shocked at least like 3 times.
Physically?
like shocked by the mic.
Oh.
That's the only thing. That's the only thing that was a little bit stressful. Everything else was a ton of fun. Everything starts late. So like they'll say the show starts at 9, but it will start at like midnight.
Oh man.
So we played once at 5 in the morning.
Yeah.
Cause
no, I feel like I've played a couple of times at like 5.
You probably have, but I've only done this once, and I was like falling asleep, just like did it, and it was insane.
I feel like that would drive me nuts as a planner.
Yeah, that's how I am. I'm pretty like specific, like with time.
Yeah, she's a Virgo. She
so,
really helps the band just like stay together. Like,
stay
what
on
time are we waking
Everything
up?
has to be on time.
Just go to the promoter. Hey, so I'm seeing we're 6 hours behind, which is totally fine. But do you have a cot I can nap on?
There's also a lot of making out. People make out like right in front
like,
of you.
Like right in front of the you'll be playing, and they'll just like be right standing in the front row like me, which is cool. It's like, oh, okay. No,
they really get into the music. It's like it's just like woo.
Yeah, a little bit different than the States.
Yeah.
States is like, oh, I think I saw some head nodding in the back. And you're also playing Desert Days, one of California's best music festivals.
Yeah, I mean, I honestly think right now it's like probably one of the best like in the world.
Yeah, I'll say in the world. I mean, I was being fair to the rest of the state and the world, but or the country, but
it's like so exciting to be on the same bill as like Stereolab. Like
yeah, that's so wild. I think they have a clear point of view. I think a lot of festivals now start and they go, all right, we know that we can just pull this touring festival list and we'll just put it in our own backyard. But that one feels very specific.
Yeah, I think it's very experiential, and I'm so excited to play it.
Awesome. All right, well, I want to make sure we have enough time for one more song, but where can people hear the music, follow you on Instagram, look for tour dates, figure out if it's the 21st or the 22nd?
So Daydreaming Winter is the key word. Instagram is Daydreaming Winter, Facebook, Bandcamp, and then on Spotify it's just Winter.
Sweet. Well, thank you, all of you.
Thank you.
Thank
what
you
a
very much.
pleasure.
Yeah, this is great. Shout out to Zoe, wherever you are.
Shout out to Zoe and all the cats listening.
All the cats listening. I think at this point we have more cats listening than people, so we're pretty stoked. I want to thank you to Dangerbird Records, Andy, everyone. Thank you so much. Here's Winter one more time on Snacky Tunes, heritageradionetwork.org. We will see you next week. Goodbye.
You don't know me.
We talk about food, we talk about music with musical dudes. Finger on the pulse, snacky tunes.
This program is powered by Simplecast.
Thanks for listening to Heritage Radio Network, food radio supported by you. For our freshest content and to hear about exclusive events, subscribe to our newsletter. Enter your email at the bottom of our website, heritageradionetwork.org. Connect with us on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter at heritage_radio. Heritage Radio Network is a nonprofit organization driving conversations to make the world a better, fairer, more delicious place. And we couldn't do it without support from listeners like you. Want to be a part of the food world's most innovative community? Rate the shows you like, tell your friends, and please join our community by becoming a member. Just click on the beating heart at the top right of our homepage. Thanks for listening.